Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this second evening of our Mindfulness Monday sessions. For those of you returning, thanks for joining us again. And for those just starting out today, I'm happy that you can join our mindfulness community. I'm Christine Kennedy, and I work in the Office of Alumni Engagement. And I'm pleased that Shrey Vazir, the founder of Mind Body Horizons, is here again to guide us through a mindful movement meditation tonight. Before I turn the screen over to Shrey, just a little bit of housekeeping. After the session, we will be having a Q&A session. And at the bottom of your screens, if you're on a laptop, you should see a Q&A icon. So feel free to type in your questions there and I'll go through them and lob those to Shrey. Also, if you want to participate, feel free to write stuff in the chat. I think Shrey wants some community feedback tonight. So yes, get your typing fingers out as well as your mindfulness mind. And I think we're going to have a great night tonight. So without further ado, Shrey.
Perfect. Thank you, Christine, for the warm welcome. Thanks everyone for joining in again to our second Monday of this Mindful Monday series at McMaster. I'm very happy to be here. Without further ado, I think I'm going to share my screen and we'll just get started. There you go. There you go. Perfect. So for those who are have joined us today for the first time, and if you missed last time's session, it has been recorded for your viewing at a later point, but I'm just going to go over a few quick pointers about mindfulness, nothing too much in detail, just a few things to keep in mind before we get into our mindful movement meditation today, which is going to be the focus for this evening. So moving on. So just want to go over this definition one more time, and I want you to keep a few points in mind while you are practicing today's meditation. Mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So we're going to go through different movements, and what I want you to do each time your thoughts start to wander into what you have to do after this presentation or what you were doing throughout the day today, try to bring your mind back to the meditation and the movements and the sensations that we go through. And then in terms of the non-judgmental part, try not to label anything in your body as good or bad or stiff or tight. Just notice the different sensations and try to pay some curious attention to those sensations. So that's mindfulness. And again, here's my favorite picture all time. Is your mind full or are you mindful? The core essence of mindfulness is pretty much summarized by this dog here in this screen here. It's about being present moment, grounded, without getting carried away by the different thoughts or feelings, and coming back to the present moment in a non-judgmental way over and over and over again. Now moving on, we did talk about this last time as well, but just as a highlight, mindfulness comes in various forms, and there's two ways that we can practice mindfulness. One is through formal practice, and last time we had practiced what we call a body scan meditation, which is a very popular one. Today we're going to be doing another form of a formal practice called mindful meditation, movement meditation, sorry. There's also informal practice that you can do in your day-to-day lives. We talked about washing dishes, eating, talking to someone very, very mindfully. So another reminder that once this meditation is done, to try and incorporate the essence and the principles of mindfulness in your day-to-day lives as well. It doesn't just stop and end with meditation alone. Okay, so welcome to Mindful Movements. And I just have a quick thing to share, a quote before we start the actual meditation. So why do we do movements when we're talking about mindfulness and meditation? And this is something that I really, really resonate with, and what really led me to my organization, Mind Body Horizons. And I want to start with this quote. The greatest mistake physicians make is that they attempt to cure the body without attempting to cure the mind. Yet the mind and the body are one and should not be treated separately. Hence, in mindfulness meditation, we often pay curious attention to our bodies as well, because if we can take care of our bodies, we can also take care of our minds. Healing happens in both, not just in segments, okay? And I want to show you one more picture here, which I absolutely love. And again, it goes to show you the powerful connection between the mind and the body. And they are essentially inseparable. For centuries, we've known, we believe that they are separate, that you need to take care of your mind through certain ways and you need to take care of your body through certain ways. But now with new neuroscience and more research coming out, we know that this is not true. They're actually very, very connected. Hence why for depression, many healthcare professionals use exercise as a way of combating depression. In another way, if you think about going for a massage and think about how relaxed you feel after that, even mentally, that's another example of how strong that connection is between the mind and the body. So just keeping that in mind as we do this mindfulness movement meditation is that we're not only just taking care of our bodies with this, we're actually creating some real changes in your mind as well with this. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get started with a roughly 10 to 12 minute mindful movement meditation. We're going to do most movements and stretches in a standing position, but if that is not comfortable for you, you can do it in sitting and just trying to visualize the different movements if your body doesn't allow you to. Okay. All right. So grab a comfortable position. We're actually going to start in a standing position. So I'm going to be right here. If it feels comfortable for you. So welcome to mindful movement. This is a mind-body practice of moving your body slowly, intentionally, and with great care and attention to what is happening in the present moment. Similar to yoga or Tai Chi, we will go through various movements. However, the goal is not to attain perfect posture or movement. The aim is to pay curious and compassionate attention to the messages and sensations that arise in your body as we go through these movements. Anytime you notice stress or tension, bring special focus to that part of the body, perhaps breathing deeply in and out through that part of the body, noticing whether your body allows you to release any of that stress if you can send your breath there. If you have any health conditions, injuries, or if any particular movement causes pain, do not force yourself to do it. Instead, modify the movement so that it works for your body, or you can visualize the movement in your mind. If this is still difficult, you may skip a movement entirely and just practice mindful sitting or standing instead. Remember, what's most important is staying present with your body. So we'll begin in what we call the mountain pose. Standing tall, hands by your side, feeling your feet firmly rooted on the ground, your head reaching towards the sky, your body stable, solid, dignified. We'll begin by bringing our focus to the breath, taking a deep inhale and a slow exhale. Another inhale through the nose and a slow exhale through the nose or the mouth. In, allowing the breath to fill the entire body, and out, slowly and mindfully. And now returning your breath to its natural rhythm, trying not to change it in any way. Now bringing awareness to every movement you make, taking the right arm and lifting it up to shoulder height at a right angle to the body. And then upward toward the ceiling, pointing the fingers upward, slowly looking upwards as you're reaching, and reaching upwards as if reaching for something that is just beyond your reach. And being with the stretch in the muscles alongside the torso and in your arms. Doing every movement mindfully, remembering to breathe here. And then slowly and mindfully taking the arm down to hang by your slide, right by your side of the body, and feeling the blood rush back into your fingers, acknowledging every sensation. And then similarly on the other side, taking the left arm up to a right angle of the body, and then up past your head, reaching upward, perhaps pushing the toes into the ground as you reach up even higher, reaching as if there was something just beyond your reach. Perhaps looking up to where your fingers are pointing, noting the sensations alongside of your body and in your arm. And then slowly and mindfully breathing and slowly bringing your arm down by your side. And feeling the blood rush back, feeling the sensations in your fingers and your hands. Looking straight ahead as you do this, we will now roll our shoulders, taking both shoulders. If you can rotate them forward, just slowly, acknowledging the stretch across our back, across our shoulder blades as we do this. Doing this as slightly or as strongly as we feel as possible and is comfortable. And then slowly reversing the direction and taking our shoulders and rotating them backwards. This time feeling the stretch across the front of our chest and our shoulders. Feeling the stretch wherever you feel it. Again, doing it as little or as strongly as we wish. And now coming back to the mountain pose again. And now doing some gentle neck movements. As we begin, we move the chin down to our chest, looking downward toward the floor, and being aware of the stretch in the muscles in the back of our neck. Remembering to breathe here. And now moving your head in the opposite direction, and then looking up to the ceiling. And noticing the sensations at the front of our neck here. And then bringing our head back to a neutral position. And then looking very slowly from side to side. So first moving our chin to our right shoulder, turning, feeling the stretch on the left side of our neck. And then going in the opposite direction, feeling the stretch on the right side as you slowly turn your head over to your left shoulder. Remembering to breathe. If your mind wanders, just coming back to the sensations in your body. Coming back to a neutral position. And now tilting our neck. So bringing your right ear to your right shoulder. Acknowledging the stretch of the muscles on the opposite side of the neck. And now slowly moving our head back to neutral and leaning and tilting to the other side. So bringing your left ear to your left shoulder. feeling the stretch on the right side of your neck here. And coming back to a neutral position. Then bringing your head up, looking forward. Now gently placing our hands on our hips as we move into what we call hip circles. Starting in one direction, just rotating the hips only if we can. And if we can't, imagining doing this just for a few rotations, making hip circles as small or as big as your body allows. And then going in the opposite direction, rotating the hips, gently and gradually, noticing the sensations wherever you may feel them, in your hips, your back, your stomach, your knees. And then just coming back into the mountain pose again. And now taking the palms of the fingers, placing them at the front of your thighs, and slowly running the palms of your fingers down the front of both thighs as we slowly and gradually bend forwards, sliding your hands and your fingers as far as your body allows, perhaps past the knees, bit down to the lower legs, as far as we feel comfortable. Noticing the sensations in your back, in your hips, wherever you feel. Perhaps letting go of the neck if it feels comfortable. And then lifting your hands and your fingers off your lower legs or your thighs and just letting them hang. Just like a rag doll, perhaps. Letting your hands and your fingers just get heavy, allowing gravity to pull the hands further down. And then making a few circular motions with our arms in whichever direction you'd like, with both arms going in one direction, and then making circles in the opposite direction, aware of the stretch in the muscles. Remembering to breathe here. And then taking the palms of the fingers, placing them on our lower legs again, or your knees, or your thighs. And then bringing ourselves gradually back up again, slowly and mindfully as we straighten our back. Finding ourselves standing upright again, with our arms by our sides. And now doing a slight twist through your body, bringing our hands back to our hips. We will slowly twist, starting with the left side. So turning your body and looking over your left shoulder as far as your body will allow. Noticing the sensations in your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your torso. And then slowly and mindfully coming back to neutral and going in the opposite direction. Twisting to the right, keeping your hands on your hips and looking over your right shoulder as you make this movement. Perhaps taking a deep inhale and exhale here. Noticing the sensations wherever you feel them, not judging them as good or bad. And slowly twisting back to a forward position, into a neutral position. Now bringing your hands down by your side, letting them hang wherever they are. Now for the next few moments, expanding your attention to your whole body and noticing how the breath travels through the entire body. Noticing how your chest and stomach expand as you breathe in, and how your chest and stomach relax as you breathe out. Just noticing the waves of your breath traveling through your body. In and out. In and out. And now just checking in with your entire body as a whole. How does your body feel as a whole? Perhaps taking a quick moment to scan through your entire body from your head to your toes, noticing if there are any areas of tension and stress, noticing if your body feels any different after this mindful movement. Perhaps lighter, perhaps heavier, cooler, relaxed, more tense. Perhaps it feels the same. Whatever the case may be, taking a moment to thank yourself for practicing mindful movement. It is an act of self-compassion for your body and your mind. Thank you for joining. Okay.
Sorry, I have to get comfy back in my chair.
Okay. Then coming back to your chairs, coming back to this webinar here in this Zoom. Perfect. Thank you all for joining. Wow, we had over 90 people join. That's fantastic. Hope you all enjoyed that. Now, I do have a few questions for you, and maybe you can use the chat function to just put in a few words as you reflected on this practice and how you felt through this meditation. So my first question for you is, what was that meditation like for you? You can share anything there. Other question as well is, any parts of your body which felt tense or relaxed as you did this? Any specific parts of your body that you felt that you were carrying any tension? Perhaps your neck and your shoulders, maybe your low back, your jaw. And also noticing if there was anything that surprised you about this meditation. Reflecting on your own or posting it in the chat for others to see. Anyone felt anything that was uncomfortable? Just noticing that. And now maybe we'll just open it up for questions about the specific meditation from today or from anything else. Feel free to post in the Q&A. We have a few questions coming in.
Yeah, I
Yep.
see that. All right. Well, thank you, Shrey. That was wonderful. Very relaxing.
Thank
So
you.
let's start with Diane's question. I was actually thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Is it best to do the movements with eyes open or closed?
It's a really good question. So I'll tell you, this is my favorite way of practicing mindfulness. Over the first few years of when I started mindfulness meditation, I had a hard time getting into, just a sitting position because I was always into, movement, sports, athletics. And this is something that I just resonated with. It's a form of like a yoga practice where you're really, really focusing on the different sensations. So to answer your question, um, it depends. So for me, I actually sometimes do this practice with my eyes closed because I can really, really get in tune with the different sensations in my body. I just find that when I'm closing my eyes, I'm taking away a huge kind of stimulus that's coming in. So if I can close my eyes, I can pay actually extra focus and attention inwards and into my body. So I find for me, eyes closed works. But let's say you were doing, a form of yoga or something that's more intense, where you're getting into some um, advanced stretches. Then of course you need to keep your eyes open for your balance. But if you prefer, sometimes I like closing my eyes in a sitting position or a 4-point position on a yoga mat, and then just going through different movements for the neck or the shoulder, whatever kind of feels right. So I hope that kind of answers your question. So there's no right or wrong. You can do it either or. I personally prefer eyes closed, but that's the beauty of mindfulness. You can do it in any way that you like and make it your own way.
And maybe mix it up, sometimes closed, sometimes open.
Exactly.
I'm going to skip Carlos for 1 second and go down to an anonymous,
Yeah.
because this is an interesting question
Mhm.
about breathing, because I know I've taken Pilates and I've taken yoga, and there's
Mhm.
sort of different breathing techniques. So the question here is, what is the difference between breathing in and out through the nose and breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth?
What is the difference? That's a good question. Um, the traditional way that I've learned it in my mindfulness training is allowing the breath to enter through the nose, and it's actually more of a hygienic thing as well, where you're breathing into the nose, so you're allowing your nose to filter out the air. That's why they recommend not to breathe into the mouth first of all, because there might be lots of pollutants and whatnot, allergens out in the air. So you want to try to breathe through the nose, and then breathing uh, out through the nose or the mouth. I give that kind of flexibility in whatever kind of fits. So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose might work for certain people. Personally, I prefer breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth, as I kind of make a sigh or a hum out. And that's another form of giving your body some other sensations, some vibrations in your body as well. So there's so many different ways. Um, yeah, I guess the question was, what is the difference between the two? I think it comes down to preference. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way, but typically we want to breathe in through the nose and then out through whichever feels more natural, either your nose or your mouth.
Great, thank you. I
Yeah.
think that's a good answer. Okay, so Carla asked, she joined us again this week because she said, thanks for another great meditation session, Shrey. We now have learned 2 different methods, body scan and mindfulness movement. What do you feel works best during what time of day? Ultimately, it's up to the individual, but does one benefit more during the mornings or evenings?
Got it. This is a really, really good question. This is one where I would say um, you would rather do mindful movements in the morning, and the reason why is you've slept throughout, the night. You've just woken up. Your body might be stiff, and rather than doing something very intense, maybe giving your body some time and space to do some gentle movements, such as this mindful movements, just to kind of awaken your mind and your body to the different sensations. So mindful movements, I would suggest to do it in the morning, but again, you wouldn't be wrong for doing it at nighttime either, as a way of winding down through the day. As for the body scan meditation, I think you can do that throughout the day without really worrying too much about the time. So morning, evening, nighttime, sometimes midday, during lunchtime. Sometimes I found people like to do it after they've driven. So let's say you're commuting to and from work. So you're driving for 40 minutes or something, and you get to work, you're in your driveway or whatnot. You can put on a meditation and actually do a meditation right there, because that kind of is a gap between where you're just coming from and before you get into the home, and kind of a good separation between your work and your home life. I think I found a few people actually really enjoy that as well. So you can kind of do a body scan meditation at that point as well. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I do prefer to do mindful movements in the morning, but there are many nights where I do it right before sleeping as well.
So on that, Yunfei, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, asked the same type of question, but which you've just answered. And then she asked another one, and how often should the exercises be done? These mindfulness sessions, exercises.
These mindful movements, yeah.
Yes.
So this is a form of meditation. This isn't something that you have to do, the more you do it, obviously, the better, right? If you want to mix and match, let's say you do a body scan or a breathing meditation, and then you want to add in mindful movements in the evening or morning, switch it up. But I'm presenting this as another form that you can try for yourself. If this resonated more with you than the body scan meditation, then this is something you would do more of on a regular basis versus something else. So it's not, so going forward as well, next week, we're going to do what we call the 5 senses awareness meditation, where we're just open monitoring and noticing sounds, smells, tastes, vision, things like that. So it's another form. And again, some people might resonate with that more, or they might prefer that. So you can kind of, the whole purpose of these Mindful Mondays is to find a practice that works for you. So for me, like I said, I struggled a lot with just sitting down breathing meditations at the beginning, and I thought in my earlier years that was the only way of doing mindfulness meditation, and I was so wrong, because I had a mentor, and she said that for years she did that and it didn't really work for her, and then she got to a point where she found that yoga and mindful movements was the way for her, and that's what her daily meditation practice looks like. She finds that if she can, as long as you're covering those principles of mindfulness meditation, which is, being present minded and focused into where you are right now, not where you were before or where you're going, and you're doing that meditation practice in a non-judgmental way, then you're practicing mindfulness. So the more flexibility you give yourself, I think the better chances are of you sticking to it and actually enjoying it versus being very rigorous and regimented about it.
Right, there's as the saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So you can
That's
take
right,
the approach that best suits you.
Exactly, yeah.
Which kind of leads into Aubrey's question. So transcendental meditation uses a sound mantra. What are some of the other meditation techniques?
Yeah, so mantra meditations are very good as well. You can say Om. There's various ways. There's transcendental meditation. There's certain types of breathing and chakra meditations, or using beads and malas, and different various ways of practicing. I recently read there are over 80-90 meditation practices. There's so many ways. So it's hard to pinpoint which one is popular. I think it's about, like I said, experimenting, trying what works best. Yeah. There's walking meditation, there's eating meditation, showering meditation, right? So you can see how vast this field can get. Yeah.
Carla had another question. So she found that while focusing on the body during this meditation session, she felt some tension more than she would during a workout. Do you suggest powering through, of course, ruling out injuries, or
Right.
changing positions once you
Right.
feel,
So
I guess, some discomfort?
yeah. So my first question to you would be, is that interesting for you? Does that kind of surprise you? Like, what do you think that could be about? Is that an area that you commonly carry tension in? Some people have these areas, right? For me, it's my upper back and my low back, which if I'm stressed, those areas are really, really flared up. And it doesn't have to be an injury. It could just be um, your body's way of telling you that your stress levels are through the roof, or maybe you're not sleeping well, or your diet is off, or something is off in your current life that is showing up in your body in certain areas. So that's one way of looking at it. Usually, when we do mindfulness meditation for patients with chronic pain, which is what I specialize in as well, this comes up quite a bit. They'll say that when I'm doing these mindfulness movements, they actually feel a lot more pain than they regularly would, which is, my follow-up question always is that interesting? What does that mean to you? Right. And it's about, when you bring your awareness and your full attention to certain areas that you're not normally noticing in your day-to-day life, those uncomfortable sensations can come up. Whereas if you're just going on in your day-to-day life without really bringing your attention inwards, then you're missing out on those messages that your body is trying to send you. Right. So to be honest, I would say that the next time I would say do this same kind of mindful movement meditation again and see how that feels the next time. It might be a bit different. And like I say, every meditation and every experience is different. Just being curious of whatever comes up for that specific one. So I hope that answers your question. I would never power through anything that doesn't feel right, but I would just try it in a more gentler way and seeing how that works, or perhaps trying to send your breath to those areas as you're doing those practices. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
No,
Yeah.
that was very good.
Yeah.
Jadranka is asking a question. There are very slow movements in your meditation session. What do you suggest as for the optimal rhythm?
So I think the optimal rhythm would be to synchronize it with your breathing. And I think that's a great way. And usually if you've done yoga or a similar form of movement like Tai Chi and things like that, a lot of those are actually, they come back to the breath always, because it's kind of like your internal, what is that word? Something that keeps your pace, like your tempo, right? You're breathing in and breathing out. And I always like to
Like
say
a metronome?
Metronome, sorry, that's the word. Yeah, I was looking for. Yeah, it's like your internal metronome. And I usually say trying not to change your breathing in any way, just letting your breath in and breath out. And that can be your optimal rhythm, right? So breathing in, looking up, and then at the next breath out, just staying there, and then at the next breath in, going in the other direction, right? So it's just kind of breaking that into cycles of your breath. And again, I don't think there is a specific optimal way. I think when you do go fast, you can miss out on certain sensations. So you would rather do it more on the slower side versus doing it on the faster side. I guess that would be my final thought on that.
Wonderful. And I think we'll close out the evening with Bruce's question. He asks, is your breathing slow, deep abdominal diaphragmatic breathing that activates your vagal parasympathetic, leading to physiological relaxation, or is normal chest breathing, which does not lead to vagal activation? I guess he's talking about the vagus nerve, probably,
yes,
right?
That's right. Yeah, this gets into like the polyvagal theory and how to activate the vagal, the parasympathetic nervous system response. And what I would say to that is there's two different ways of approaching that. Typically, when you're doing a meditation practice, you take some deep inhales and then some slow exhales to get into kind of that zone, or that, setting the intention that you're going to do a meditation. So that portion of the meditation is really meant to activate your parasympathetic response, leading to physiological relaxation. And then afterwards, getting into just normal, your regular chest breathing. And that the purpose of that is to shift your focus and attention to different things other than your breath, which in this example were, different sensations in your body, right? Or if you were doing breathing meditations, actually focusing on the breath, or next time when we do open awareness, you're focusing on sounds or smells and tastes, things like that. And then ending it off in the parasympathetic response again by taking a deep inhale and then a slow exhale. So I guess the purpose is different with different meditations. But I think involving both kinds of breathing is important, and not just focusing on one.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would have thought it would have just always been that deep diaphragmatic breathing. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And that was a good question that came up, I think, last time as well, or I think it was in the blog post Q&A, where somebody asked, when I'm taking those deep inhales and exhales, I can't regulate it, and I actually feel a form of kind of panic that comes. And again, for some people, taking those deep inhales and exhales may not work. So in that case, going back to just your regular breathing as your body allows. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, well, it's almost 1:45, and I don't think, sorry, Ken and Kathleen are asking the same questions about when will these recordings be available? And I think Maggie's actually typing an answer, but I will tell everyone they will be available in about a week. We do have to have them closed captioned before we can post them. I believe you received an email today sort of outlining last week's talk, and we'll do the same this time next week. On Monday afternoon, you'll get an email with the video recording and also a sound clip recording. So if you just want to listen to that on your phone, you can certainly do that. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact us. That information is in the email you will receive. So that's it for this evening. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Shrey, for leading us through a wonderful session. And then next week we have 5 senses.